Okay, we're here in Las Vegas, the northern part, or northwest part of Las Vegas, not too far from the Air Force Base.
Or the mountain, which is right there.
Big. So we're right at the foot of the mountains. And we're here with the Brothers in Healing. And we have Chris and Woody. Now, you know I'm going to have a little Woody guy pop up here from the...
Fine by me.
Okay,
I've been called a lot worse.
Right. And of course, Bob and Marcel. And we're going to talk today about what they do with police officers, because they're both police officers in Washington State, and talk about their organization. So without further ado, I'm going to let, who wants to start with talking about what you guys do?
Who's the smarter one?
Well, I'm smarter, but he's better looking. So I like him.
We'll start with looks, and then when he starts fumbling, we'll go to
He's a movie character. That's what it is.
Yeah, Chris and I realized something. We got to get off the sideline and try to make a difference. I loved helping other people, but I always felt there was something more for me to do. And Chris shared that same compassion, and he brought off on it right away. He's like, "Yeah, let's do something. Let's start talking about this." And over the years, we realized that the complex trauma that not just police officers deal with, but dispatchers and people who have served in the military and have seen things, and just anybody who's experienced trauma in their life, we realized that, hey, we're not doing enough to address it. In fact, it's gotten to the point now where we lose more first responders by suicide than any other way. And, I would go on these calls, people who really needed help, and a lot of it was from our soldiers coming back from Iraq in the military, and those who had served in Vietnam. And I realized that we are not taking care of our own people. And people out there are hurting, and that's something that Chris and I really resonate with. We've been there, we know what that feels like, and we want to make a difference.
When I met you guys at the big event you guys were just at, it was a school safety, is that what it was?
School safety conference.
Yeah, and of course Marcel had to do his Trump bit, and that's how we all met, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But when we started talking about it, and you told me that part right there about PTSD. Well, as we all know, PTSD doesn't know boundaries. It's
right.
Trauma's
law
trauma.
enforcement. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what really interested me in about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and I will say this: when your mind owns you, it has the tactical advantage over you. It knows your weaknesses, it knows your flaws. When you look at yourself in the mirror and your mind is having those unhealthy thoughts because of the state that it's in at that moment in time, your mind will own you. It will control you. It will bring you places that you've never been before. It'll humble the most arrogant individual out there. And that's the one thing I realized is when my thought to my negativity and my mindset took over, you feel like you don't have any power. I could not change the channel of the things that I saw, and it was so frustrating for me when the movie plays, but you can't change the channel or you can't turn the movie off.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me.
Well, yeah, well, a lot of viewers out there can relate to that as well. I mean, we all have our own things, and I'm glad you said what you said. It's not just war, or it could be anybody and anything.
Yeah.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I think we kind of missed on when we started doing this is, like, we didn't even think about the prisons or the jailers who see what we put in there for the rest of their lives. These are the worst of the worst. And we just got a call one day from the Monroe prison, and they said, "Hey, will you guys come up and do a presentation?" And
Nice.
We're like, how do we not even think about that part of law enforcement? Because they're a part of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, you think and to piggyback off that, they're dealing with the worst of worst. That their community is all the offenders, violent or extreme offenders, and they're all confined into one little city, and we had no clue. And that's on our bad for not recognizing that, but we see it now. And a special thanks to you guys who work in the Monroe prisons and in prison systems all around our nation, because you see the worst of the worst all confined in. At least when I'm on patrol in the city, it's mixed in with good people.
Sure.
So you get a mixture.
Yeah.
There you've got people, and I'm not saying that everybody who's in jail is bad. You can turn your life around. I really believe that. I really believe that humans have that capability. So I'm not going to judge anybody, but I will say it does say something when you're in charge of dealing with the worst of the worst in one confined area and space. And think about it, the media isn't allowed in there. So
Right.
there are things that they see all the time that just isn't getting exposed. And so we're onto that now. And dispatchers too. We don't talk enough about dispatchers hearing that and that guilt that comes along, feeling like maybe I should have said something, more, given this officer a little more, insight. Like I've dispatchers who have dispatched police officers and they've gotten shot, and the dispatcher will feel guilty because maybe I didn't ask enough questions. Like I should have told the officer, they were armed with a high-powered rifle versus a shotgun where they could, get in within 75 yards or whatnot. So it's stuff that we don't think about. And then there's the teachers. It's first responder isn't just doesn't mean just law enforcement and firefighter and dispatch. First responder can be a citizen who helps out on a traffic collision that watches someone die in front of them. Right. And if you've ever been there and witnessed someone lose their life in front of you, that just makes its mark on your soul, and you can never just erase that. There's always something there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Talking about how subtle something can be and how a buddy of mine years ago told me that he had just picked his convertible up from the mechanics, and he's just stopped and picked his daughter up. They're in the car, stopped at a red light.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden the engine blew up and flames engulfed.
Yeah.
He grabbed his daughter, got out, she was fine, he got a little bit burned, everything. He goes, and it's the weirdest thing now. He says, every time I stop at a red light, all of a sudden my heart starts beating like a trip hammer,
yes.
my pits go thing, and he's having
That's right.
this engram, this
Yes.
thing locked into the subconscious mind. So I told him to go see this kinesiologist doctor. I said, just do what he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just do what he says to do.
Yeah.
And he did, and a month later, I saw him, I go, how you doing? He goes, dude. He said, I walked out of there like 3 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
And I said, how about now when you stop at a red light? He goes, nothing.
Yeah.
But just that instant, nobody died, nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
But when there's trauma to the subconscious brain, which is linked to the conscious brain, that locks that thing in there, and now all of a sudden, maybe you were seeing a tiger in the jungle and you panicked, the fight or flight kicked in, and you ran, that was a real thing. 10 years later, you're in the zoo and you see a tiger in a cage. All of a sudden you go into the same...
That's right.
And it's safe.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Your brain is totally designed to protect you, okay? So if you experience some kind of trauma or some fear, your brain will... it'll memorize that same fear to prevent you from being killed and going forward. So like the red light, a trigger. Hey, last time I was at a red light, this is what happened. That's just your brain working to try to keep you safe, right? But when that gets out of control and you can't control that and you don't recognize that, it's the worst feeling that you can have sometimes. Yeah. I remember my first panic attack. It just came on all of a sudden. I actually thought I was having a heart attack.
Right.
I was on a country road. I had to stop. It was 2 lanes. There was nowhere for me to pull over. And I had to do, we call it tactical breathing, but breathing techniques to try to calm myself down. But had I not had that knowledge, I would have seriously told you today, I thought I was having a heart attack. I would have called 911 and, here I'm on this old road. But, that was my brain saying, hey, you've had enough trauma. You need to get help. And that was the changing point for me. When my body started shutting down, I knew that, hey, it was trying to preserve itself. And I knew I needed to get help. And something I want to share with our audience is there's a couple hacks that I've learned in the 8 years that I've been going to counseling, is that you have to enter into your subconscious mindset where 80 to 90% of our decisions, or it could even be higher, come from. So I didn't get relief from the normal just talk therapy, talking back and forth. It wasn't until I saw someone skilled in what's called lifespan integration, where you have to go revisit the trauma. It's not easy, but it enters into your subconscious. And the same with EDMR. It's created by the same lady that created this. But for PTSD, that's what gave me the relief, to where I could start enjoying life again. And I gotta be honest with you, it's way better on this side. Man, the hurt and the punishment that I was going through, and when I look in the mirror, I just hated who I saw in the mirror. I didn't have respect for myself. I didn't take the time to do self-care. I didn't love myself enough, really. I didn't even know who I was as an individual. I think you and I, when you and I talked, you brought that up. And I didn't even know who I was anymore. And that really, when you said that, it really resonated with me, because I truly didn't. I really didn't. I lost so much of myself because I'm overwhelmed with all this negativity, you see? And then when you start getting help, and then you start realizing there is so many people out there who are just like us, sitting here today.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
We just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We're soft.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so once we start talking about it and we give each other, hey, this worked for me, this helped me, it feels good because it feels like we're coming together as a team. And I really feel like that's what needs to take place now if we're going to change this trend and this culture.
Yeah.